That would be an easy meal right there. One, I could get the goose pretty easily with this shovel right here. Two, I could get its eggs. All set to leave this morning, heading off to the lake, and I remembered I let a buddy borrow my other canoe with both my paddles. So we could either change plans or we can commit, and winners find a way. Handle goes here. On a scale of 1 to redneck, where would you rate this rig? It's cold this morning. That sun feels good, doesn't it, girl? Hunting and fishing for the purposes of survival. Short term, let's talk about short-term survival. So you're lost, you're stranded, whatever it is, and you've got to get yourself a meal so you can have the energy required to either self-rescue or just sustain yourself until help arrives, however long that may be. Definitely a thing. If you've got modern equipment like fishing rods and reels and line and hooks, or just a simple line and hook, I mean, you can really make some stuff happen. You can catch some fish depending on where you are, obviously, if there's fish to be had. You can catch some fish, you can catch turtles. You can even catch birds with a line and hook. But, you know, again, it's situational dependent and location dependent. Having some sort of lure is pretty handy because bait can be slim picking sometimes, especially depending on the time of year. The wintertime, it's hard to find worms and grubs and stuff like that. Some geese sitting on their nests already. Sitting on some eggs, thinking they're hiding. Now that would be an easy meal right there. One, I could get the goose pretty easily with this shovel right here. Two, I could get its eggs. Highly frowned upon in today's society, however. Migratory birds and such. I'm pretty positive with the skills that I have, the tools at my disposal, and the location that I'm in. Maybe not today, I haven't had a single bite today, but you know, anybody that goes fishing and hunting can tell you that they get skunked from time to time. In current times, in the current state of things, I could probably provide my family with all of the meat necessary to sustain us all year long just with wild meat. Deer, I could kill enough deer and catch enough fish to feed my family if that was, my intent, and that's what I devoted myself to doing. However, if it was a situation where times were tough, people were out of jobs, food was hard to come by, I think I wouldn't be the only one with an idea like that. And I'm pretty sure the deer population, for one, would be decimated really, really quickly. So I think a lot of people's envision that they could live off the land after the SHTF situation, I think is a little bit naive. I think that that's just not really going to be a thing. So I wouldn't rely on it in that situation. As far as short-term survival, yeah, I think that that's definitely a thing. If you've got the tools and you've got the skills and you're in a location that has the necessary game to provide for yourself, then yeah, for sure. If you've got a rifle, you've got a shotgun, you've got traps, modern traps, fishing line, hooks, rods and reels, if you've got all that stuff, it's possible to prolong your survival depending on where you are, depending on how plentiful the game is. Not every wild place that you imagine has abundant game. It's just not the case. In the summertime, I've had really good luck with gigs like this for frogs. Easy meal. At nighttime, shine a bright headlamp in the frog's eyes, and you can sneak right up on them and stick them with a gig like this. Works really, really well. I have not had much experience with spearing fish. I think most people's fantasy of, carving some sort of spear barbed gig out of a stick and heading out into the wilderness and spearing fish in a river is just an illusion. And a very, very small amount of circumstances where people would be successful with something like that. The fish would have to be very abundant, have to be larger species of fish for the most part, and you'd have to be able to access where they are, and deeper waters is just not going to be a thing. Now, I have had decent luck at nighttime with fish using a flashlight again. The fish are attracted to the light, and you can get large species of fish such as carp and things to come within gig range. So that does work. What I generally do is flatten my gigs out like this, and then I can attach it to a split stick. That is the easiest way to do it. I made a small little sheath for it, keep it from poking me out of PVC. But that's the way to do it. In the summertime, man, frog gigging is really, really fun at night. I really enjoy it. In a survival situation, probably your best bet in something that has worked well for me is going to be opportunistic type hunting. So let's say I'm out fishing, let's say I'm out trapping, let's say I'm out foraging, whatever it is, and I have a shotgun slung across my back. And if the opportunity presents itself, you take it, and then you've got yourself a meal that you ordinarily wouldn't have had. When I was on the show Alone the Beast, I had a stick with me all the time. I had a walking stick about 6 feet long. And if something presented itself, I gave it a good whack. And then I had a meal. Snakes and turtles and rabbits and all the stuff that's out there that's, potentially edible in a survival situation is you just have to be ready to take it. Trapping is another thing that a lot of people get caught up in when you're thinking about survival. You think about sitting around the fire, whittling up your figure 4 deadfalls and all that stuff. And while you can have some success with them, it's possible to catch small critters and things like that, mice and whatnot. It's still a pretty meager existence. Yeah, it can give you a few calories here and there, but it's still pretty dang tough if that's what you're reliant upon. Now, modern traps, steel traps, whether they be live traps or leg hold traps or whatever, those work. Those really, really do work, especially if you know what you're doing. That's something I need to learn more about for sure. But you can reliably catch critters and stuff. If I put a live trap baited with half a can of tuna down by the creek or out here by the lake, I'd catch possums and raccoons all the time, pretty reliably. When I've done prolonged survival scenarios, experiments, the thing that's worked the best is a combination of hunting, foraging, and trapping. And basically what I'll do is, if I'm lucky enough, fortunate enough to have some sort of metal container like a pot, everything that I forage and everything that I gather, everything that I whack with a stick, I put in that pot. And at the end of the day, I've got myself some sort of meal. I just let it brew, let it boil, which also cleans the water that I'm going to drink, decontaminates that, kills any bacteria and stuff that might be in the water. And it gives me a nice broth as well. I mean, anything. Earthworms, you know, anything that you can catch and throw in that pot, boil it up. All the leafy greens and stuff, blackberry leaves and plantain and anything and everything that you know to be edible. Throw it in there, cook it up, and you've got yourself somewhat of a decent meal. Or at least the illusion of a meal sometimes. Makes you feel better. I've definitely eaten roadkill deer. It's a thing. You know, if you catch it while it's fresh, you recently hit deer, yeah, go for it. No problems. Sometimes there's parts of it that are ruined, you know, like a deer a couple years ago that was roadkill deer. The rear end was pretty beat up, pretty bruised up and nasty, so we didn't eat that, but we were able to salvage, you know, 3/4 of the deer. Maggie, get in. There you go. Oh, come on. Come on. Get in there. Good girl, stay. No luck on the lake today, so I figured I'd try my luck here on the river. No action. I didn't see any fish in the river. A couple of fish in this small pond right here by the river. But still not a whole lot of action going on. We've had this cold front come through, and it's been in the 20s at night. Warm during the day, but 20s at night. And the fish just are not very active at the moment. So that's the way it is. So if I was reliant upon fishing today for my meal, for my next meal, I'd be going hungry. Couple of nibbles, but no takes yet. Dinner. There we go. We caught a little guy, just a little brim. But like I was saying before, what I would do is I'd add this to a stew pot if I had it. You could cook it just on a stick or something over a fire, but preferably to get most of the nutrients out of it. If this were a real survival type ordeal, I'd put it in a pot. I'd gut it first. I'd put it in a pot, And I'd boil it up, and I'd put any kind of leafy greens, wild tubers, you know, cattail tubers, anything that I could find that's edible. I'd throw it all in that pot, and I'd have myself some sort of meal at the end of the day, which would contain some protein as well. So that's a really, really big win. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I really, really do appreciate it. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I cannot wait to see you on the next one.